My husband prepared a drink for me, but the smell was off. As soon as I brought the glass closer, a metallic scent hit my nose, making me nauseous. Instead of drinking it, I discreetly swapped my glass with my sister-in-law, who had always tormented me. 30 minutes later, she clutched the table, her hands shaking uncontrollably. "Don't you want to try the drink I made especially for you, darling?" My husband, Fernando, asked with a strange smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. I was sitting at my sister-in-law Bianca's elegant dining table in her home in the capital, where we gathered every month for a family brunch. The glass in front of me carried a strange, almost metallic smell that turned my stomach. At 29, I never imagined I'd find myself wondering if my own husband was trying to poison me. But after 3 years of marriage and countless accidental food poisonings, I had learned to be cautious, especially when Bianca was involved. She had a way of orchestrating situations that left me sick or humiliated, always with that same innocent smile, just like the one Fernando was wearing now. "How thoughtful of you," I replied, forcing a smile while my mind raced. The aroma coming from the glass was unlike any drink I had ever smelled before. It reminded me of the day last month when I ended up in the emergency room after drinking tea at Bianca's house. The doctors couldn't explain my symptoms, and she had insisted she had made the tea exactly the same way she made hers. Bianca watched me closely from across the table, absent-mindedly stirring her own untouched drink. "Fernando has become quite the drink expert lately," she commented with a smirk. "He's been testing different methods just for you." The way she emphasized "for you" sent chills down my spine. Lately, I had noticed Fernando spending more time at Bianca's house, claiming they were planning a surprise for our anniversary. But something felt off. The whispered conversations that stopped when I entered the room, the strange texts I glimpsed on his phone, and now this drink with its peculiar scent. I lifted the glass, pretending to take a sip while studying their expressions. Fernando and Bianca exchanged a quick glance, which only confirmed my suspicions. Making a show of checking my phone, I abruptly stood up. "Oh, look at that. I need to take a quick work call. Bianca, would you mind if I use your office?" As I walked past her chair, I pretended to stumble and, in the motion of steadying myself, quickly switched our glasses without anyone noticing. "I'm so sorry," I exclaimed, straightening up. "I'm such a klutz sometimes." Bianca brushed off my apology with a stiff smile. "Just try not to mess anything up in my office." I nodded and rushed out, my heart hammering as I stepped through the doorway. Now all I had to do was wait and observe. From my vantage point, I watched Bianca lift her glass to her lips, and a wave of anxiety tightened my stomach. A part of me wanted to stop her, to warn her, but I needed to know the truth. I had spent too many nights in the emergency room, too many hours curled up in agony, always after sharing meals with them. It hadn't always been this way. When I first met Fernando at a friend's wedding 3 years ago, he was charming and devoted. Bianca had seemed friendly too, welcoming me to family gatherings and even offering to help with our wedding planning. But looking back, I should have seen the warning signs. The way she always managed to spill something on my dress during important events, or how my food always had a bit too much seasoning when she helped prepare it. At first, the incident seemed minor, a bit of nausea here, a mild allergic reaction there. Fernando always had a convenient excuse. Maybe it was something you ate earlier, or you're probably coming down with something. But over time, a pattern emerged. The pie. Worst happened 2 months ago when I was hospitalized after having breakfast at their house. The doctors found traces of an unidentified substance in my system, but Fernando convinced everyone that I must have taken some expired medication by mistake. Gripping the doorframe, I watched as Bianca took another sip of her drink. Fernando was casually typing on his phone, unconcerned. My untouched glass still sat on the table, the metallic scent lingering in the air, making my skin crawl. Then I noticed the slight tremor in Bianca's hand. She set her glass down, her complexion suddenly turning pale. "Fernando," her voice wavered. "Something's wrong." Fernando looked up, his expression shifting from confusion to sheer panic as he realized she had taken the wrong drink. He jumped up so fast that his chair clattered to the floor. "Bianca, what's happening?" Her hands were shaking violently now. I don't... She attempted to rise but lost her balance, clutching the edge of the table for support. "Fernando, what did you put in that drink?" I stepped forward from the office, my phone already recording. Fernando was crouched beside Bianca, his face pale as a ghost. That wasn't supposed to be your glass," he muttered. But in the eerie silence of the dining room, his words were loud and clear. Bianca's eyes widened, fear and realization washing over her face. "Call an ambulance," she gasped, her body sliding to the floor. "Please, I can't." I grabbed my phone and dialed emergency services, my hands unexpectedly steady. Despite the chaos unfolding before me, I felt strangely in control. Bianca was now sprawled on the floor, her body convulsing. Fernando knelt beside her, horror written all over his face as it dawned on him that their plan had gone terribly wrong. Emergency services? We need an ambulance at 1542 Central Avenue, I said clearly, ensuring my phone kept recording. My sister-in-law appears to be having a severe reaction to something she drank. She's conscious but experiencing intense tremors. As I spoke to the dispatcher, Bianca's gaze locked onto mine. The usual cold calculation in her eyes had been replaced by raw panic. "Clarissa," she gasped. "You switched them. You knew." "Ma'am, help is on the way," the dispatcher assured me. "Please stay on the line." Fernando was becoming more frantic by the second. "Bianca, what's happening? This wasn't supposed to—" "Shut up, Fernando." Bianca snapped through clenched teeth, fury momentarily overshadowing her pain. "This is all your fault. You said she'd only get sick enough to miss the board meeting next week. You swore it couldn't be traced." My blood ran cold. The board meeting, where I was supposed to present my proposal for a major client. The same client Bianca had been trying to secure for months at her competing firm. Everything clicked into place. "The tea last month," I murmured, my voice surprisingly even. "And the breakfast 2 months ago. Those weren't accidents, were they?" Bianca's face twisted in pain. "The tea was supposed to keep you home the day of the Johnson contract presentation, but you showed up anyway." She gritted her teeth, clutching her stomach. "Fernando said we just needed to discredit you, make clients think you were unreliable." The sound of approaching sirens filled the air. Fernando staggered back, his expression desperate. "No, Bianca, stop talking. You don't know what you're saying." "I do now." The sound of ambulance sirens grew louder, mixing with Fernando's panicked whispers and Bianca's groans of pain. I kept my phone recording, my heart pounding, but my mind was surprisingly calm. For the first time in years, I had control over the situation. They were caught, exposed, with no time to craft lies or manipulate the narrative. Fernando knelt beside Bianca, gripping her shoulders as she struggled to stay conscious. His eyes were wide, his breathing unsteady, but he didn't seem truly concerned about her condition. He was terrified of something else. What would happen next? "Bianca, hold on. The ambulance is almost here," he whispered, but the way his gaze flickered toward me said it all. He knew I had heard everything. He knew I knew. The paramedics rushed in, their uniforms a sharp contrast against Bianca's pristine home. They asked quick questions, checked her vitals, and wasted no time strapping her onto a stretcher. Bianca was pale as a ghost, her body trembling uncontrollably. "Are you coming with her?" one of the paramedics asked Fernando. "Yes!" He jumped up, clearly rattled, and followed them toward the door. But before they could leave, my voice cut through the air. "I'm going too." Fernando turned to face me, his expression a mix of shock and desperation. "That's not necessary, Clarissa. She's my sister-in-law, and I want to make sure she gets the proper care." I folded my arms, unyielding. He knew he couldn't argue. He knew that if he tried to stop me, it would make things worse. So he swallowed hard and followed the paramedics out the door. At the hospital, the wait was long. I sat in the waiting area outside the emergency room, watching the doctors move around while Fernando paced nervously, biting his nails. He wouldn't look at me. The tension between us was suffocating, but I remained silent, just waiting. When a doctor finally emerged from Bianca's room, Fernando practically jumped from his seat. "Is she okay?" he asked, voice shaky. The doctor frowned, flipping through his clipboard. "She's stable for now, but we need to know exactly what was in that drink." We ran some preliminary tests and found traces of an unidentified substance in her system. Fernando hesitated. I don't know. Maybe it was an allergic reaction?" A dry, humorless laugh escaped me, making him finally meet my gaze. "An allergic reaction, Fernando? Really?" The doctor looked between us, clearly suspicious. "The police have already been informed. Since there's a possibility of poisoning, we'll need to file a report and wait for further test results." The word police made Fernando turn even paler. He tried to act normal, but I saw his jaw clench. I said nothing. I just kept my eyes locked on him. He knew the game had changed. It wasn't long before an officer arrived. He started asking routine questions, jotting things down in his notepad. When it was my turn to speak, I took a deep breath. I was at Bianca's house when Fernando made me a drink. It smelled off, so I didn't drink it. Bianca unknowingly took mine instead. Minutes later, she started having violent tremors. The officer raised an eyebrow. "Do you believe there was malicious intent?" I turned to Fernando, staring him down. "I have proof." I pulled out my phone, opened the recording, and hit play. Bianca's voice filled the air. "This is all your fault. You said she'd only get sick enough to miss the board meeting next week. You swore it couldn't be traced." The officer's expression shifted, and Fernando's eyes widened in sheer panic. That's not what it sounds like." Bianca was delirious. She didn't know what she was saying. "She sounded pretty clear to me," I said coldly. "We'll need to take this in for further investigation." the officer said. "Mr. Fernando, you'll need to come with us for questioning." Fernando tried to defend himself, stammering excuses, but the officers weren't interested. They led him away as he glanced back at me, his face full of desperation. Later, I was informed that Bianca was still under observation, but the toxicology report indicated that she had been exposed to something harmful more than once. Interesting, I thought. If Fernando had been poisoning me over time, was it possible he had been doing the same to her? The next few days were a whirlwind of statements, evidence gathering, and revelations. The case quickly became a scandal, especially when investigators uncovered that Fernando and Bianca were involved in corporate fraud. They had manipulated contracts, embezzled funds, and used my declining health to sabotage my career, making me seem unreliable to our clients. In the end, Fernando was charged with attempted poisoning and fraud. Bianca, who recovered slowly, was forced to cooperate with authorities to reduce her own sentence. And me, after years of humiliation, betrayal, and being used as a pawn in their twisted game, I was finally free. I made sure to be in court on the day of Fernando's sentencing. When the judge handed down the guilty verdict, Fernando's eyes met mine, and for the first time, I saw something beyond his arrogance and control. I saw fear. I saw defeat. I walked out of that courthouse without looking back. He had tried to destroy me, but in the end, he was the one who fell. And me? I started over, stronger, smarter, and with no one left to make me doubt myself ever again. Fernando's arrest was just the beginning. When the police took him away, Bianca was still in the hospital, sedated and surrounded by doctors trying to stabilize her. I could have let it all go at that moment, moved on, and let the system take care of the rest. But that wasn't enough. Spent days waiting for the right moment, keeping up with the news about Bianca and listening to the rumors within the hospital. I learned that she was recovering, that the doctors had managed to neutralize the effects of the substance in her body. She was alive but shaken, and soon she would be well enough to face what was coming for her. When she was finally transferred to the psychiatric ward for a mental evaluation before her trial, I knew it was the perfect opportunity. I found the perfect moment on Bianca's third day of hospitalization. She was under observation, with no access to regular visitors aside from lawyers and doctors, but there was always a way around those barriers. I didn't need to enter her room, nor did I need to be present when it happened. I just needed to make sure the message was delivered. I spotted a young nurse new to the hospital, someone who had no idea who I was. With a friendly smile, I handed him a sealed bottle of water. "Hey, could you do me a favor?" I asked in a casual tone. "My sister-in-law is in room 2113. I heard she hasn't been drinking enough water. Could you take this to her?" The young man hesitated for a second, but the rush of hospital life didn't give him time to question it. He took the bottle without much thought and nodded. "Sure, of course." I watched from a distance as he walked down the hallway and entered her room. I waited a few minutes, and when he came back out, I knew she had received it. Now, all I had to do was wait. Half an hour later, I walked into the hospital as if I were simply stopping by to check in with the doctors about Fernando, a supposed victim of the situation, at least in the eyes of the media. I strolled down the hallway toward room 213 and knocked on the door. Bianca's weak voice came from inside. "Come in." I slowly opened the door and stepped inside. Bianca was sitting on the bed, her skin pale, her eyes tired, yet there was still a faint trace of arrogance in her, though it had significantly dimmed. The empty water bottle rested on the bedside table beside her. She stared at me, suspicious, trying to figure out why I was there. "Hi, Bianca," I murmured, stepping closer. She didn't reply. Her eyes simply scanned me, searching for any sign of threat. I lowered my gaze to the bottle and then looked back at her, leaning in slightly. "I hope you liked the water. I personally made sure you got it." The shock was instant. Her body tensed, her hands trembling slightly. What? She looked at the bottle, then at me, then back at the bottle again. "Oh, Bianca," I sighed, lowering my voice. "I left a little gift inside for you." Panic took over her immediately. She lurched forward, shoving her fingers down her throat, trying to force herself to vomit. Her eyes were wide with sheer horror. No, she gasped, her chest rising and falling rapidly. The scene was pathetic. The desperation, the uncertainty, the absolute terror. Everything I had felt every time I left a dinner with them. Every time I fell sick without knowing why. Every time I wondered if I would wake up the next day. This can't be happening," she muttered, pressing her hands against her stomach as if expecting something to start eating her from the inside out. I stood there, watching, savoring every second. Then, when I felt she was about to completely lose control, I gave her a small smile and stood up. "Well, it was nice seeing you, Bianca. Enjoy the little gift." I turned and walked out of the room without another word. Only when I was outside the hospital, feeling the fresh air against my skin, did I finally allow myself to laugh. She would never know. She would never be sure. But the truth, there was absolutely nothing in the water. Time passed, but the terror in Bianca's eyes that day remained etched in my mind like a priceless memory. After leaving the hospital, I never looked back. I didn't need to. I knew she was drowning in her own fear, feeling every second of uncertainty eating away at her sanity. The days that followed were chaos for her. Bianca refused to eat anything offered to her, convinced that someone was still trying to poison her. The doctors tried to reassure her, but she lost control, demanding toxicology tests, begging to be transferred, screaming that she wasn't safe. The hospital staff whispered about the paranoid woman who trembled at the sight of a simple glass of water. She unraveled. I heard that one night she was found in the bathroom trying to make herself vomit, even though she hadn't eaten anything in hours. She was declared mentally unstable and placed under psychiatric surveillance. I didn't have to do anything but watch from a distance. The terror I planted inside her grew on its own. Fernando met his own fate. He was convicted and thrown into a cell where, for the first time in his life, he was nobody. No money to pay elite lawyers, no connections to bail him out. He had to face reality like any other criminal. Prison broke him. Once arrogant, he was now just another inmate trying to survive. It didn't take long before rumors spread about how he even avoided drinking the water, afraid that someone might make him pay in the same way he had once plotted against me. I moved on. I sold the house I had shared with Fernando, got rid of everything that reminded me of that chapter of my life, and started fresh somewhere else. Over time, I stopped thinking about them, but fate had other plans. Bianca didn't disappear from my life entirely. Months later, by chance, I overheard a conversation about a once powerful businesswoman who had been permanently institutionalized. A former socialite, now nothing more than a broken woman, locked in a high-security psychiatric hospital because no one could handle her paranoia anymore. That's when I found out that Bianca never recovered. I learned that after her forced commitment, she refused to drink anything unless it was brought to her by a family member. But ironically, there was no one left. Her family abandoned her, her friends disappeared, and she was completely alone. When she was transferred to a private facility, she became a nightmare for the staff, obsessively convinced that someone was still out to get her. One night, a frustrated nurse, tired of her constant screaming, set a glass of water in front of her and said, "You think you're poisoned? Then don't drink it. But if you don't, you'll die of thirst. Your choice." They say Bianca sat frozen for hours, staring at the glass, crying endlessly. In the end, she drank it, and she survived. But that didn't bring her peace. If anything, it made her paranoia worse. She became convinced that they were just waiting for the right moment. I never had to lay a finger on her. I never had to do anything beyond letting her own mind do the work for me. Bianca lived through the same hell I once did. But unlike me, she never escaped it. And me? I moved forward. I didn't become bitter or vengeful. I simply understood that sometimes the worst punishment doesn't come from direct actions, but from fear. And ironically, Bianca herself had taught me that. She had tried to destroy me with poison, but in the end, all it took to destroy her was a simple glass of water.